I have a rebellion air on my hands this evening. Are you rebellious, actually?
I am rebelling against Wall Street,
Rebelling against Wall Street.
like many of you Teslanaires.
So it's Bradford Ferguson who rebels against Wall Street's admonition that you should always have a diversified portfolio and that it's okay. He thinks it's okay if you're all in on Tesla, and that's what separates you from the crowd, right?
I don't recommend it, but I think it's okay, and I can help people manage their position.
All right. So that's
I'm supposed to say I don't recommend it.
yes, I gotcha. I gotcha. So your niche though is a very unique niche, and I like it. I think it's fun.
Mm.
All right. We got a master plan for everybody and their third cousins already talked about whether it was a great master plan for or a bad master, or whether it needed more stuff. And I was the first one, by far the first one to say, "Hey, it looked to me like the introduction instead of
Uh,
the plan." And then Elon said, "Okay, I'll come back and add to it." But what I'd really like to hear from you, and you can tell me your thoughts about the plan, but what I'd really like to know from you is what you think about the future. Do you think we will get to a sustainable abundance in 20 years where people will just be going, hey, this is easy?
I do think that the future is going to be radically different, and that people aren't ready for it. Even the people who think that we're that's going to be very different. I don't think are ready for. And Tesla talked about in the master plan for how it's n not going to be a smooth process. And I think it's also interesting that they released it on Labor Day.
Yeah.
Um, so it could increase the wealth inequality for a while. Even if everyone ends up getting a robot, or if there's a robot tax that improves things, it could increase it. And I think now is a time where you want to be investing in companies that are making the future. And one way to do that is to you know maybe invest in a company that's making robots that might displace human workers in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that we'll talk about in the book, you and I think have talked about it before, and uh, uh, Peter Diamandis was talking about this over the weekend. I think in this future that's coming up, there's going to be a lot of gig workers, but those gig workers are probably going to be owners. They're going to own a robotaxi car. They're going to own an Optimus robot, and they're going to rent it out.
Mhm.
They'll maybe own drones. I already know people who own drones and rent them out, or operate the drones for farmers or whatever. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of the future is going to look like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And you know, if customers end up getting Optimus, I don't think necessarily people are going to keep an Optimus all to themselves. They probably won't need it all to themselves. So, maybe you co-own an Optimus with other people in your neighborhood that are like-minded, or with your friends. So, like after it's done helping you out with your house or whatever, or teaching your kids things like that, then you can send it on to your friend who can use it for um, in their house, or to teach or whatever.
Yeah, so borrowing the neighbor's mower will have an entirely new look.
Yeah.
All right, well, okay, good. Glad to hear
So
that.
I think it's going to look weird, the future.
Yeah,
I think people are going to start to get freaked out by all the change. I think that's going to happen in a couple of years. Yeah, allegedly, there's a lot of kids coming out of college that are finding trouble, finding a first job out of college now.
hmm.
And it seems like I'm, not sure about this yet, but it seems like a lot of businesses are using AI in order to lay off those entry level workers that are just doing the mind numbing type of uh, entry level work. One thing we're doing with our business is we're automating that entry level work to free up our operations people for, more interesting work.
Yeah, I always tell folks that if their young college graduates can't find a job in their preferred field, waiting tables is a great way to start your life. And there's almost always jobs for good waiters. Um, Musk said that the presence of a safety driver is just there for the first few months to be extra safe.
hmm
So, what did you think about that statement?
I understand it. So I've looked into the Texas legislation more, and what Texas can do is the autonomous operators in the state, they can have that removed. So allegedly, right now, Tesla does not have a autonomous permit for the entire state. They have a rideshare permit for the state of Texas, and they have a autonomous permit for Austin.
Okay.
So if they wanted to in Austin, they can operate without a safety monitor. But I'll tell you why they're not doing that yet, or my theory. But outside of Austin, they would need a safety monitor. Um, there's all these weird theories about, why they suddenly had to add a driver. Um, I think the reason for it is that Texas can take your ability to operate as an autonomous provider away if you're deemed to be unsafe.
Okay.
And Elon wants, I think I'm just reading the tea leaves here. Elon wants Tesla to be safer than Waymo. So like lower is better, like
Yeah. Yeah.
less accidents is better.
Yes.
So I think he's waiting till they get version 14 and make sure that version 14 is very safe before they get rid of the monitor. I don't think he wants to be equal to Waymo or like slightly worse.
Yeah. Okay. And so they started putting some people not on the rider side, but actually on the driver side in Austin. And he explained that the day that had to do with highway driving.
hmm Yeah, I do think it's extra precaution with highway. More people are getting access, and we're in Texas, we're still seeing a mix between whether or not the safety monitor is in the passenger seat or in the driver's seat. When it's on the highway, it sounds like Tesla definitely wants them in the driver's seat, just as an extra precaution.
And they would be the only ones in the business that offer drives on the highway.
Waymo just started.
They also just started.
So
Okay.
it seems like Waymo is like saving some features for when like Tesla finally got in to make it look like Waymo is, innovating just as fast as Tesla. Um, so I think it was a choice for Waymo not to go on the highway. Um, Tesla's doing it. I'm very glad to see that they're offering that now. Curious to see how it evolves from here. It does make me slightly nervous. Like in general, Elon isn't that great with his end of year predictions. So he's saying, get the safety driver out by end of year. Um, I think version 14 will allow them to take the safety driver out if they want to. But I think in new jurisdictions, they'll have a safety monitor in there and maybe start off a little smaller than they would otherwise to make sure everything's going according to plan. They also need to figure out like pick up and drop off. So you have locations that a lot of people are getting picked up from or dropped off to, and you want to have an ideal place that's, not on the main street. Like if the main street is busy and, high speed, a lot of traffic, you don't want to drop people off, right there.
Double
Um,
parking or whatever.
yeah, you want to pull to the side, and it's a safety issue. It's you also don't want to inconvenience other traffic. Um, so that's a wrinkle I really hadn't been thinking about until I actually rode the Robotaxi.
Mhm.
That they got to figure that out in each area.
I guess I'm just more clever than you. I had thought about that. I'm kidding. So Mark Anthony, who goes under the has on X, he's must stay calm. Musk,
Mhm.
not must, but must stay calm. He says, my ride home from the I'm sorry, to the University of Texas in Austin, Uber was $25.13 with a 7-minute wait. It was a crappy car, unknown quality driver, usually bad. Under Lyft, they had a promotion going, so it was only $19.23 with a 4-minute wait. Same issues as the Uber. Then he finally, for the first time, got to try a Robotaxi. It was $12.62, so half the price of Uber and 60% less. No, anyway, a lot less.
33% less than Lyft or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. And had a 24-minute wait though. So I don't, they need to put more cars on the road there.
Yep.
Anyways, it was the brand new Model Y. And of course, right now they're all going to be brand new Model Ys. He says, I'll plan ahead and ride the Model Y. Wait times obviously will drop when there's more folks out there. And then Phil Beisel, who goes under P Beisel on X, said that he took his first Robotaxi ride up there in San Jose, $23 to the coffee shop for the Robotaxi versus $36.96 for the Uber. So
Mhm.
so these guys will not be able to stay in business with these differences.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to stay this low necessarily for Tesla, but eventually it'll come. So I think prices will come up, but then they'll come down over time. So they'll come back to these prices after a year or two after Tesla greatly expands it.
Right.
So I do think they'll come back to these prices, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Uber to compete with human drivers. I don't think they will be able to, and Waymo will have to um, have to step up their game.
Yeah, and I saw that, Uber um, made a very clever decision today, and they hooked up with the best car manufacturer in the United States. Did you see that news?
You talking about GM?
No, no, they hooked up with so
You talking about Ford?
no, 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 no. They hooked up not Rivian, the other one.
Lucid?
Lucid, yeah, they hooked up with Lucid.
Oh,
They're
that's a good one.
gave them a $300 million contract.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah, a deal like that, I like to say 0 + 0 = 0.
Sawyer Merritt says the Trump administration is taking steps to make it easier for automakers to deploy self-driving cars by removing some requirements designed specifically for human drivers. Well, it turned out, if you get into the details, these were things that, I mean, is great. They're taking away some requirements in terms of windshield wipers or windshield wipers fluid or something. I don't know. Nothing very significant. But in general, Sean Duffy says America must lead the way in transportation innovation. If we don't, our adversaries will fill the void. So there's some hope that maybe we're going to see some important decisions out of the Department of Transportation. Or what do you think?
So, and you're talking about future removal of the need for a steering wheel?
Yes, and brakes. I mean, yeah, and brake pedals and
Yeah.
whatever else they could do to make it more of a you know uh, and overarching for the entire country rather than city by city or state by state.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a positive step for sure. I wonder if they're testing the waters or what they're doing with just doing wiper fluid or whatever.
Yeah. So Elon Musk, a lot of people were thinking that the president was getting softening his tone this week, and then there was this big tech meeting today in DC.
Mm.
All these other guys were all the other major tech guys were there, and
Is
Elon
that
wasn't.
AI summit?
The
Yeah.
AI summit, and Elon wasn't in attendance, and there was a lot of scuttle that, oh wow, look, see, here we go again. It's because of the fight. So Elon says, he says, no, I was invited, but I was, other situations I just could not attend. So
Mm.
but I was represented there. So do you think that will salve anybody's wounds? Do you think people will believe
I
that?
think that was a positive sign that he was invited. Um, so yeah, it's a little awkward when we first read the headline, Sam Altman, all these different leaders in AI, but no Elon Musk, who's, with XAI
Right.
and who's leapfrogged a lot of competitors, but also with Tesla and the leader in real world AI. So we were losing our minds until Elon posted the clarification.
I noticed that you posted the other day, I think you were among the first to post that it appears we might have a smaller mega pack.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
talk to me about the smaller mega pack. By the way, Larry Goldberg thinks that it might be for the data centers, or that might be one of the uses for it would be distributed energy in the
Mhm.
data centers.
Yeah, so when I was in Lathrop, and I believe this was in September 2023, I saw this interesting contraption that looked like it was about like a half to an eighth the size of a megapack.
Okay.
Um, so I think at the time they were like beginning to build the enclosure for it.
Hmm.
So what a megapack is it's got 24 battery modules and they're in stacks of three. So there's 8 stacks. That's what makes it so long. And if you take one of the stacks, you have uh, three three large battery modules. These are big modules,
Big money.
so
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
they're very big. So it would be 500 kilowatts, almost like more than half the battery size of the Tesla Semi.
Okay.
So it's a lot of batteries. And what we saw recently, God in the Wilderness is a YouTube channel. They do drone flyovers of Fremont and Lathrop,
Hmm.
where 40 of these covered units that were about the eighth of the size of the Megapack. Um, Now, it's possible they're not batteries, so I do want to say that, but I think it's more likely than not that this is the Power Pack 3.
Okay.
So Tesla's had an in-between product um, for most of the time. They've been missing it for a while though, where it's in between the Powerwall and the Mega Pack.
Got it.
So like the Powerwall, the Mega Pack is it's so much bigger than
Right.
a Powerwall.
Yes.
Um, I don't know if it's like 500 times bigger, or let's see. I'm just doing some quick math here.
Sure.
I think it might be 300 times bigger.
300. Okay.
So the mini mega pack, which my nickname for the Power Pack 3 is an eighth of the meg size of the mega pack and about like 37 times bigger than the Powerwall.
Got it.
And I think this is an ideal product for a number of uses.
Uh-huh.
Um, Larry could be right. So at first I wasn't thinking of data centers, but um, XAI had to do some special engineering work with Tesla on the Megapack to be able to use the Megapack in the way they are for Colossus
Right.
in is it Tennessee?
See,
Or,
yeah.
yeah,
Memphis.
Tennessee. Um, so there might be something where, if they have it in these smaller units, the engineering's easier or better.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think Larry might be onto something there, but also there's a lot of smaller power users that would benefit from something that's smaller than a megapack. Like a megapack is way overkill
Yeah.
for a hospital
Yes.
or for a college campus or um, uh,
Factories for
a normal factory. Yeah,
distribution centers. Yeah.
yeah.
Too big, way too big. Yeah.
So you have your Power Pack 3, and this gives you backup power, but it also helps you with peak power. So
Mhm.
what Matt Smith explained to me is that if you're a big user of power, um, the utility will give you a surcharge for like the most that you use in any day during the year.
Right.
So if there's an abnormal day and there's some kind of power surge or whatever, and you end up spiking the power and using twice as much as any other day,
Mhm.
you end up paying this what they call a capacity surcharge, which can be quite expensive. So essentially, they're reserving that capacity for you.
Right.
If you have a power pack, you could prevent that
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
happening. So if you end up having the surge, you can draw on the power pack instead.
And the opposite, which is kind of maybe even the more likely one, maybe you could ask Matt about that, but the opposite of that is that, and I had this when I had my factory, is the power company will come to you because I was a big user of power,
Hmm.
and they come to you and they say, "Hey, look, if we can cut you off on a really big day, we're getting the spike." And you're using a massive amount of energy. If we can cut you off for a couple of hours between 4 and 6, then we'll give you a special rate
Right.
year round if we have that, because we don't have to have that peak capacity for that day. And
Yeah.
so then, that's a hard thing to do if you're sitting there with, 35 employees as I did at the time. I had 35 employees per shift or something like that. And, all of a sudden you got to shut everything down, turn off the air conditioners, and then start back up, which takes a half an hour or longer to get the equipment rolling again. So that's not a great solution. But the power pack, this particular, a power wall? No, I don't think it would have been enough for my factory,
No.
or even a bunch of them. But this one might be exactly the right way to get that done.
Hmm.
And it'd be modules, so you could do two or three. If you're bigger, I was like 25,000 square feet. If you got a 75,000 or 100,000 square feet, maybe you have to buy two of them or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Power Pack 3, if you have significant solar on your commercial building, Power Pack 3 would enable you to use that a little more as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that looked like a really good thing. Let's see here. Nobody is talking about something that came out today about the semi. Maybe you saw this too. They now have a low power voltage converter that triples the capacity of a V3 charger,
Mm.
so that the trucker can keep this thing in his truck. He comes into a regular old charging station as long as he's got access to the chargers, and
Hmm.
he just hooks in that converter, and now it will draw triple the amount of power. Apparently, it still will take a couple 3 hours to charge up the truck, but that's a lot better than 8 hours or something.
Yeah.
So, so I thought that was a pretty good innovation.
Yeah, so Tesla has done the engineering for this. Allegedly, right now, it's just for Tesla engineers. Tesla did clarify that, but it's good that they have already created the solution.
Yeah, so that means
I
now,
think that's cool. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't understand electricity, so I don't know how it's possible, but that's pretty sweet.
yeah, I think that was great. Okay, so now here's the big question of the day. Have you used the Grok code yet? Have you been coding with the new Grok code, which apparently has lit up the industry, the coding industry, because I guess they have more people using Grok code right now than all of the other coding systems combined, according to Elon Musk today.
Yeah, so there's more requests for Grok code than anything else on something called Open Router,
Right.
which measures the performance of model usage of people that go through this open router thing. Um, so I I'm a little unsure because like Sonnet is really good for coding. It's really good for agentic coding. It's a good multi-purpose. Um, I'm not able to use other models as easily as I'd like. So there's if you're doing agentic AI coding, uh, the easiest way to do it is with Claude Code, and you essentially have to use Anthropic's models for that. So you're using the Sonnet or the Opus typically.
Mhm.
Um, for agentic coding, you can also do something called VS Code. So I think that's Virtual Studio Code or something like that. And with that, you can use a bunch of different models, and I'm guessing the Grok is one of those. Um, Given that the usage has exploded, I'm guessing it's doing really well as
Yeah.
far as how good answers it's doing, how it's interpreting code, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I've only heard one of the podcasts over the last few days where they actually had it, but they hadn't really started trying to use it yet. So I've just been curious to know how much faster, how much better, because the speeds that they're talking about have been have been incredible by comparison with the other ones that are out there.
Yeah, the speed um, with these agentic coders is can be really important. So, Claude, their Sonnet model can take like 15, 30 seconds, sometimes longer for a response.
Mhm.
So if you make a model that can respond much faster, um, and give a similar quality answer, right now that would be the killer app for
Yeah,
agentic AI coding.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just use a little, I'm a little more simplistic, so I use Claude Code
Right,
as
right.
my interface. Um, and that's called a command line interface or a CLI.
Okay.
Um, there's also an IDE, which is a development environment. I'm forgetting what the I stands for. Um, and in these IDEs, you can use the Grok code model.
All right. Well, it's happening awfully fast. At the beginning of the show, we talked about how different things are going to be in a year. Again,
Yeah.
some of the people that I'm listening to are talking about, and certainly within the IT departments, within the bookkeeping departments of companies, et cetera. A year from now, I think it's going to be very different. Well, for some, the truth is, of course, I'm going to guarantee, I'm going to make this guarantee. I talk about this in the book. I will absolutely guarantee you that 10 years from now, I'll still be able to walk into half the bicycle shops in the United States, and they won't even know what AI is or have any application for it at all. And they'll still be running things exactly as they're running them now.
Yeah.
So, and that'll be true for little machine shops and for all kinds of even maybe small tax preparers who you might
Mhm.
think would really want to use AI. But in fact, I've had some clients who were in fact in the accounting business, and a lot of them were 10 years behind in terms of using even the available apps that were out there at that time.
So yeah, the change is happening very fast now, and this agentic AI coding is a huge force multiplier. We have a programmer who's a full-time programmer now, and in about 3 months, he says that like a typical programmer would be able to do about 100 lines of code per day if they're doing it by hand.
Okay.
That's like a good day, like a good sustain rate or whatever.
Yeah.
So if he wasn't using agentic AI coding, he'd be at about 9,000 lines of code in,
Okay.
in 3 months.
Right.
when he visited and we had our annual meeting, he had done 90,000 lines of code using agentic AI
Yes,
coding.
yes. Yeah,
Now he might have to shift to Grok code. We'll see.
you might have to. You might
Maybe
have to.
that'll multiply it even more. So just this week, after a day or two, he was able to save one of our operations people between an hour to 2 hours every week.
Wow.
And it was, mind-numbing work of
Yeah,
opening a file, seeing what the file is, and then renaming it to a certain specification.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it already did the job, possibly better than the other person was doing. The other person was doing a good job, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
AI is just doing it better. Um, and in the same pass, we're gonna, glean more information from the files just automatically. Um, so we may not even have to open the files.
Right. 100%. So, all right, last subject for me anyway. Maybe you'll have something I'm forgetting, but tomorrow, of course, is the labor. We get the jobs report tomorrow. We had the ADP jobs report today. We had the unemployment, or what do you call it, the initial unemployment claims numbers today. We've heard from the S&P services, uh, PMI and the manufacturing PMI, all those things have come in over the last few days, and everything would suggest that the economy is normal, doing fine. All the retailers are saying it's doing fine, that the consumers are resilient, that services are doing fine. Manufacturing still off, but not horrible,
Mhm.
but just off. Um, Wages going up, wages going up faster than inflation. So we have real wages going up, which is always great. People saving money. We've got the internet, I'm sorry, the internet, the markets hitting all-time highs again. The S&P hitting its 20th all-time high, or 20 something in the 20s anyway. Grok had a lot of trouble figuring that out today, but it's
The
around
20th time this
this
year?
year. Yes, this
Okay.
year, 20 times. Yeah. So the indications would all be everything's looking pretty good, but a lot of the headlines right now are saying, "Oh my gosh, we've got no jobs, no jobs. We're not increasing the jobs." And of course, I've been clapping back and going, "You got no federal jobs at all. Nobody being hired by the federal government." And last year, the last 4 years, that's been huge. You got no illegal immigrants being hired because they're going home and they're not any new ones coming in. So you don't have anybody being hired in those capacities. And you've got AI, which is definitely going to have an impact. I mean, let's face
Yeah.
it, going to have an impact. How much of an impact? Don't know yet, but we know it's having an impact. I think there was a fourth thing. So you've got all these things that are mitigating against having $175,000 months. So I've been saying for 2 months now, we should get used to 50,000 a month. And you say,
I think you make a great case. Yeah. Yeah, people are worrying because the number of jobless is now higher than the number of job openings.
it's always been true. It's,
There's it's been lower for a long time, so
yeah,
it's just gone higher.
right.
But there's a mismatch between what employers want and the available workforce. That's there's been a mismatch for a long time with that. Some other negative stuff was that in the second quarter, if you didn't have all this pre-buying in advance of the tariffs, really going into effect on August 1st,
Mhm.
that GDP would have been negative by over 1.5%.
Yeah,
So so there's
if you
some things
smooth
that
those
are
two quarters,
soft that are causing a little bit of concern. Go ahead, Randy.
if you smooth those 2 quarters, the first half would have been about 1.5% GDP increase.
Hmm.
So it's not great, but it's not bad. Uh,
Yeah.
and we're looking right now, the ADP, I'm sorry, the Atlantic Fed is saying we're running about 3% GDP growth right now.
Hmm.
So that's obviously excellent. Um, So, and again, the stock market seems to be saying, we think that the business is going to be fine. Looking out 6 months, we think business is looking great. So I just think,
I think profits are going to be fine.
yeah,
So like the reason why we invest in stocks isn't for, 3% GDP or,
right,
how many people have a job. It's, how profitable is a given business going to be.
right,
That's why we invest in a company.
right.
Um, so I agree that, profits should be strong. But it's possible that if the economy's worse than expected, maybe people get spooked by that, and the multiple that people assign to those future profits is lower.
Right. Except you got interest rates coming down now. And so
Mhm.
that would tend to make your multiples go up
Yeah,
in the growth stocks.
yeah,
One of the things I just want to encourage people over and over again, I've been trying to do this like every show, is look at the unemployment rate. It isn't
hmm
about how many jobs there are created and are hired in any given months. It's what is the unemployment rate. And if the unemployment rate stays around 4.2, 4.3, goes down to 4.1, whatever, all is well.
hmm
Starts moving up to 5%. Now you have to start asking some questions about what needs to happen. But in the meantime, we're almost 100% going to get a rate cut from the Fed, which should help manufacturing, which is the one category that's been one of the two or three categories that have not been doing well.
yeah. I'd say the other thing that's maybe spooks some people is like, generally we have really big market declines every 4 years or so. We had one in April because of the tariffs and uncertainty around the tariffs, but it was relatively short-lived. Um, but then before that, it was the old high in a lot of growth stocks was around the end of 2021.
Mhm.
So, people are kind of waiting for the next shoe to drop when they're just kind of looking at that every 4 year number. And it doesn't have to happen that
No,
way.
no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of people that think that we're right at the very beginning of the next bull market. And that suits me just fine. I'll go along with that projection.
Yeah. I think it's a great time to invest, in especially finding companies that are uh, creating a lot of value using AI or saving money, automating processes using AI. I think it's a crucial time to be invested.
Yeah, and so now that your company's getting so big and you're just growing like crazy, have you increased? Do you only take Teslanaires that have 100 million in no, no, it's still you're looking for that $1 million guy?
Well, our minimum is probably going to be creeping up, from 1 million to two or three,
Oh, there you go. Okay.
but not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's still time to get in. Do they have to use my name in the when they send you the DM? Randy said there's still a chance to get in
Well,
at
maybe a cool Hawaiian shirt will help them out too.
all right. Well, unless you've got anything left that I have.
No, let's get right to the numbers.
All right. Thank you so much for being on, as always.
Absolutely.
All right. What we've got right now is we have got Tesla. Yeah, sure. I looked at the wrong thing here. Um, and so I'm a little bit fumble fingered here, but I'll try again. And here we go. All right, I've got it. We're at 339.26, trying so hard to get to 340, and it is going steadily up here in the after hours on Robinhood now that we're past the 5 o'clock level in California. And let's go ahead and look at the bonds. The bonds were looking good earlier. Let's see if they're still looking good. And boy, I'm having technological problems here. Okay, down 2.1 basis points, back down to 4.155. Oh, Randy's so happy. Maybe tomorrow morning, if we really get I think probably if we hit 75 or 50 are less, 75,000 jobs, 50,000 jobs or less. If we stay at 4.2 or go to 4.3, I think all of those things would potentially keep these bonds heading down. Maybe we can get to a 3 handle by next week. We'll see what happens there. All right, moving on to oil. Oil is down 23 cents, 63.25. Natural gas up 6 whole cents, still sitting at 308. We've got gold has now decided to kind of tick back up just a little bit, up $5.80 in the pre-market to 36.12. Silver is at 0 unch. It's unch at 41.45 though. Good number for silver. Copper moving up even a little more, 45.11. You've got Bitcoin down 14.22 for the day, sitting at 110. That's a little better than it was this morning. And the futures on the stock futures, basically all pretty close to unchanged. The Dow is actually unchanged. The S&P plus 0.08%, NASDAQ up 0.18% going into tomorrow. All right, so what do we got? We've got later on tonight, you got Cern Basher. I've already seen it. Oh yeah, I was in it. That was going to be on, probably I'll put that on at 8 o'clock. So, the game will be over by 8:15, but if it's a stupid game and you don't care, you could jump on early. That's what I'll try. We'll see if that works out. If that works for most people, when I say 8 o'clock California time. And then, yeah, that's it. That's really all I need to tell you. That's what's happening tonight. And then, yeah, I don't have anything else to say. It's been great, as always, talking to you.